I don't know how many of you saw Megan Rapinoe at the White House. She finally went to the White House, U.S. women's soccer team player Megan Rapinoe. She refused to go to the White House when Donald Trump was there, even though he invited her after the U.S. women's team won the World Cup back in, I think it was like 2018, if I remember correctly. But she got there and she argued that female athletes deserve equal pay with male athletes. And it's like nobody was willing to push back and say, wait a minute, supply and demand matters. And the reason why male athletes make more money than female athletes is because even if they do the same job, more people care to watch male athletes play than they do female athletes because they're better. And so I think that has to kind of factor in on some level here. The amount of interest in a sport dictates how much you get paid. And I use this as an example sometimes. I do the same job basically as Howard Stern. I'm on the radio in the morning talking. We are both morning radio show hosts. He makes a lot more money than I do. And by the way, I make a lot more money than most people who do local radio, morning sports talk radio, because my audience is bigger. Your audience dictates how much you get paid in all facets of life. The person who makes the art house film that might be seen by a small crowd gets paid typically a lot less than the people who are your blockbuster headline actors and actresses that are bringing a large audience to watch them in a film. And it's like nobody in sports media will actually push back against ridiculous arguments like these. Now, equal pay for equal work does exist in most of America. If you are a teacher and you start work the same year as another teacher, whether you are male or female, your salary is the same. If you are a worker who is in a federal job, your salary is the same. It's not determined in any way by your sex. When I graduated from law school, all lawyers started at the same salary. There was no difference in terms of men and women starting salaries. But over time, lawyers make different salaries because some lawyers are better than others. Some work more hours than others. All of those things factor in the professions that I have had. And this idea that athletes, because they have the same job, look, the U.S. women's soccer team got beaten a few years ago by the average under 15-year-old boys in Dallas, Texas. The best collection of 15-year-old boy soccer players in Dallas, Texas, 15 years and younger, was better than the U.S. women's soccer team. The fastest woman in the history of the world in 2018 was beaten by over 300 high school boys in the 400 meter. In general, I can't believe I have to say this, male athletes are bigger, stronger, and faster than female athletes. And typically, consumers are going to support male athletes because they want to see people who are the best compete at something. And do you know who the number one supporters, by the way, of female athletics are? Men. By and large, men are who watch women compete because in general, men like sports more than women. So look, Megan Rapinoe is entitled to whatever she can make in the marketplace, which is predicated on how many people are actually interested in watching her. By and large, Christian Pulisic, if we want to say that he is the best male soccer player, is worth far more than the best female soccer player. And many of the issues with compensation come not from the United States, where women are treated very equally, but in the world, there is much more interest in the men's World Cup around the world than there is in the women's World Cup. And that money eventually flows to players. This is just an illogical argument. I heard almost no one in sports media take issue with it or discuss it in any way, probably because they are afraid of being called sexist when they cite basic economic data. the more people who are interested in watching you do anything, the more money you make, period. And far more people are interested in watching men's athletics than in watching women's athletics.